How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Michael Saylor just bought again. We have some very interesting and very important things happening this week, some key events that will push the market. We have BlackRock just relentlessly buying $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin last week, and Trump just flipped. He flipped again, which is going to definitely change the sentiment in the markets. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. Also, if you do want to trade crypto, there are links underneath the video. You can start trading on BTCC. You get a 10% bonus on your first time deposits. You get lower trading fees for using my link. You can get up to 500x leverage, which is too much for my risk tolerance, but you can get up to 500x leverage, and you don't need a VPN and you don't need to KYC to start trading. There are also some links down there in case you want to try out Bitcoin or WEEX as well. Now, Bitcoin looks pretty good. It's sitting right at 107. You can see over the last few days, it did fall down to, let's actually zoom out here. It fell down to about 106.5 thousand, which is about previous resistance. You can see this 105.5 to $107,000 range. We got rejected about 3 or 4 times before we broke through. The news about Trump came out over the weekend that Trump was proposing a 50% tariff on the EU starting June 1st. So this sent the markets down. And what do you know? Trump flipped again. I don't know if EU came calling, hey, we need to fix this or what, but Trump agreed to delay 50% tariffs on EU until July 9. So they haven't come to a deal, but this gives them more time to figure something out. It sounds like, from what I heard, the EU is very, very optimistic about a deal and want to get a deal done fairly quickly. So there is, there is a delay on these tariffs, and what do you know, Bitcoin back at 110,000 fairly quickly. Keep in mind the Bitcoin conference is going on this week. By the way, if you do want tickets, if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, it's in Vegas. You can still get there in time. It starts on Tuesday. You get 10% off with my link or my code underneath the video. But yeah, it should be a very interesting time with the politicians being so pro-Bitcoin. Obviously, if you didn't hear this, JD Vance will be speaking at the conference on Wednesday. We also know that like Besant is super pro-Bitcoin. He's not going to be there, but still, they said that we're going to go big on digital assets. Trump has said we want to lead the way in digital assets and crypto. They really like the idea of stablecoins because it gives more demand for U.S. treasuries. So they're going to try to foster crypto adoption here in the U.S. in a way that fits everyone's objectives at the end of the day. So I think this conference is going to be pretty crazy. I saw that they're going to open the doors 3 hours before Vance is supposed to speak. They're going to start opening the doors at 5:30 a.m. So if you want to get in, you're going to have to get in really early if you want to see JD Vance speak. Someone that continues to acquire Bitcoin, whether politicians are for Bitcoin or against Bitcoin, Michael Saylor bought another 4,020 Bitcoin for $427.1 million at 106.2 thousand per Bitcoin. So they've achieved a year-to-date Bitcoin yield of 16.8%. As of 5/25, they hodl 580,250 Bitcoin. I thought they were actually going to buy more this week, just from the fact that Bitcoin was hitting new all-time highs and Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy was not moving up in accordance to Bitcoin. So I figured they were probably selling a lot of shares and then buying a lot of Bitcoin. But I say that they didn't buy a lot of Bitcoin. They're still buying 4,000 in a week. Like, that's nothing to scoff at. That's more than every other company out there. Obviously, we don't know what sovereign wealth funds are doing or what countries are doing, but that is the equivalent of, let me just make sure this is, okay, we're good. This is the equivalent of 208,000 Bitcoin throughout the year. And keep in mind, they've accelerated their purchases since the end of last year. Like, look at this. They were buying a little bit faster in 2024 than in 2023, especially than 2022. 2022 was a rough year. It's hard for them to buy a lot of Bitcoin when the market is so significantly down. But you can see they started to buy more and more. And then there's this tipping point around November, December, where they just spiked up. They bought a ton of Bitcoin. And they've still been acquiring Bitcoin very quickly. I mean, just over the last 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. They went from 275,000 all the way up to where they at now, 580,000. Yeah, they've acquired 300,000 Bitcoin in 6 months. It's just insane. No one else is anywhere close to this, except for BlackRock. BlackRock bought $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin last week. Oh my gosh. $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin last week. They 5x'd MicroStrategy. Of course, it's a very different entity, right? Different financial entity, but still, they are buying so much. I have to double check how much they hold now. But when BlackRock holds 1 million Bitcoin and the price hits $1 million, they'll be earning $2.5 billion in a year in fees every year forever. That's insane. And keep in mind, too, they might be earning actually more than this because they can use their Bitcoin ETF and they can put it into other portfolios and kind of juice up the returns, right? So like the global allocation fund buys some Bitcoin and gets a really good return. Well, they have fees on the global allocation fund. They also have fees on their Bitcoin ETF. So they're kind of double dipping with fees. And if they can juice up the whole portfolio in the global allocation fund, they might only buy 1% Bitcoin in that fund, but if it returns 3 or 4%, they're going to get a lot of money and fees from that. So yeah, like the 2.5 billion is just the obvious fees that they're making from this, but it's insane. And they're at this rate, they're going to hit 1 million Bitcoin in the next few years. And that's if we don't get more of this. Like this swallows up so much Bitcoin. That's 20,000, 25,000 in a week. You do that for half a year and or less than half a year, and they're at 1 million Bitcoin. And yeah, $2.5 billion in fees. BlackRock stock. The whole company is worth about $150 billion at a PE ratio of 23. So, I mean, this would increase their bottom line by double digits, which is crazy from one ETF. Then, mind too, there are still countries that are allocating more resources to Bitcoin. Pakistan allocates 2,000 megawatts of electricity to Bitcoin, mining, and AI, according to Bloomberg. There's so many countries working in the background too that we don't know about. Keep in mind, there are a lot of big events this week. Obviously, the Bitcoin conference, but the markets are closed today. The traditional markets, obviously, crypto trades all the time. CB consumer confidence data is coming in tomorrow. Fed meeting minutes is coming in Wednesday. The US Q1 2025 GDP data coming in Thursday. April PCE inflation data coming in Friday, along with the Michigan consumer sentiment data on Friday as well. I also think we could see some big announcements from the Bitcoin conference. There are hints being thrown out that maybe Dell is going to announce a Bitcoin buy at the Bitcoin conference. There are also some rumors that maybe Robinhood is going to do that. Vlad is going to the Bitcoin conference. Of course, they're a major financial entity that has been working with crypto for years, so he could just be going there in general without announcing some kind of Bitcoin strategic reserve or treasury. And there was another company, GameStop, maybe announcing something as well, right? Dell does have earnings on Thursday, which is the final day of the conference, which is kind of interesting. And again, they've been hinting at Bitcoin. Michael Dell has been hinting at Bitcoin or talking about Bitcoin for years. There are rumors that some big tech player is going to be buying Bitcoin this week. Of course, let me know your thoughts on all this. Some of this is speculation, but the fact is Bitcoin is a very scarce asset in a world of inflation. So it's probably going to continue to do well, right? And there's so much adoption. You can see it. I think we'll all be scratching our heads why we didn't buy even more years from now. Like if you're adding to your 401k or if you're buying rental properties, I bought some rental properties over the last couple of years. And other spare cash. People will be kicking themselves. I'll be kicking myself for not buying even more Bitcoin. Of course, you are trying to weigh the risk and reward of Bitcoin all the time. And I do think it's easier to hold a significant amount of Bitcoin if you have some diversification, right? If you are someone that's worth $1 million or 500,000 or 200,000 and it's all in Bitcoin, it can be very stressful. It can be, because the fact is it's still extremely volatile. So if you're worth $1 million at the end of the last bull run, well, you would have seen your net worth go down to $200,000. And the fact is some people can't handle that. So I do like diversifying, but I still think that we'll be looking back and wishing we had bought more. Of course, do your own research, right? I can't see the future. Let me know your thoughts underneath. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you see me in Vegas, say hi. If you want to check out the links underneath the video, you can, to BTCC. I like trading. I'm not saying it's right for everyone. Do your own research. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one.